Alright, let's talk about the China thing. Calmly, like adults, with our feelings in one hand and the numbers in the other. If you follow global economics even a little, you've seen the loop. China is the new economic superpower. China will pass the US. New world order. America is cooked. And everyone says it like it's a weather forecast. Like, yep, Tuesday, partly cloudy. Wednesday, China takes over. Ray Dalio's The Changing World Order poured gasoline on that conversation, and I get why. It's a clean cinematic idea. Every 100 to 200 years, the crown moves. One empire peaks, another climbs, rinse and repeat. It's a satisfying story because it makes chaos feel organized. But I'm Tyler White. I don't trade bedtime stories. I trade reality. I trade incentives. I trade the boring stuff that actually moves money. So today, no propaganda energy, no doom music, no pick a team, just two questions. Can China realistically become the top economy in the near future? And if it does, what does that actually mean for the US, for markets, for money, for regular people? Quick pause, guys. Hit subscribe and tap like, not because I'm begging, because I'm about to throw a whole whirlpool of context at you. And if you want more of this kind of breakdown, that's how the platform knows. Also, if you like it, I'm granting you +5 luck for the next 48 hours. And that's not science. That's just me being silly. Cool? Cool. Now, why did the China will pass America any minute story feel so believable back in the 2000s and early 2010s? Because China was growing like a rocket. 10% GDP growth, 12%, sometimes even more. You see that and your brain goes, yeah, well, that's basically unstoppable. But there's a core concept people skip because it's not sexy enough for headlines. The difference between a developing economy and a mature one. Let me make it simple. Business analogy. Picture a small coffee shop. 2, 3, maybe 4 employees. A few $1,000s a month. That business can grow very fast. Rent a second spot, hire a couple more people, buy another machine, boom, you can double your revenue. Now picture Apple or Microsoft. They're huge. Decades of infrastructure, supply chains, talent, distribution, product ecosystems. They're near the ceiling. When Apple drops a new iPhone, it doesn't double profit. If Apple grows 5% to 10% in a year, that's a strong year in that scale. Same logic for countries. A developing economy can grow fast because it's starting from a smaller base and building things that simply didn't exist before. A mature economy grows slower because it's already massive. Growth becomes heavy, incremental. And that's not a failure, that's just physics. China's growth story, it was real, it wasn't magic. It was a pivot. China moved away from a rigid closed model toward market mechanisms, especially during the Deng Xiaoping era, when entrepreneurship and private businesses were allowed to expand. That alone changes a country's breathing. Suddenly, people can create value, trade value, build companies, hire people. The economy starts acting like a living organism instead of a sealed container. Private companies show up, jobs show up, wages show up, and taxes show up. Guys, it snowballs. Then, global economies start pouring into China because the world wanted cheap labor at scale. Manufacturing moved because China had a massive workforce and low wages at the time. And that was extremely efficient. Add geography, shipping routes, and China became the world's factory floor. That's the engine that powered those crazy growth years. But here's the part people avoid because it ruins the superhero narrative. Growth engines burn out. When you've built a ton of infrastructure, created massive industry, urbanized the population, raised wages, expanded consumer markets, you stop being the developing miracle. And you start being a mature system. And mature systems do not grow 15% forever. Let's kill one myth gently. China equals cheap labor forever. Guys, that's an old movie. Wages in China, they rose a lot. It's not pennies anymore. That old advantage shrank. And it's not just wages, demographics. This is the big one that feels boring until it isn't. China's one-child policy created A demographic hole that shows up later like a bill you didn't read. Population aging changes the entire math. Fewer workers supporting more retirees, higher pressure on public spending, slower consumer growth, less easy expansion, different forecasts, different numbers, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm the oracle. But the direction matters. Aging pressure is real. Now add another uncomfortable piece. China, it's not fully market driven. The state has heavy influence over banks, major corporations, real estate, and key industries. And to keep growth looking good, a government can invest aggressively, sometimes into projects that market doesn't actually demand at that scale. You've seen ghost cities, big clean neighborhoods, tall buildings, and not enough people. Those projects were built for a future that didn't arrive on schedule. That's not funny. That's capital allocation. That's how you get stressed later. So when China hits the natural ceiling, everything gets tighter. Less room for easy growth, demographic pressure, retirement burden rising, labor costs rising, debt stress, confidence becomes fragile. And yes, growth slowed down. China isn't doing 15% to 20% anymore. It's closer to what you see in mature economies, mid-single digits, sometimes lower depending on the year. And that doesn't mean China is finished. It means China's maturing. And here's the thing people love to ignore. Stock markets. Markets aren't perfect truth, but they are a confidence meter. Investors price expectations. And lately, a lot of capital doesn't see the same unstoppable story it saw before. It sees all of the risks. Demographics, policy uncertainty, state involvement, debt cycle, slower growth. So when someone asks, Tyler, will China dominate the world economy next year? I'm like, relax. Real systems don't flip like a light switch. Could China become the largest economy by some measures? Maybe. But dominance isn't only GDP, it's also trust, institutions, investor confidence, property rights, and predictability. That stuff that makes capital comfortable. If China wanted another growth boost, the cleanest route is improving investor confidence. Clearer rules, stronger property protections, more predictability. That usually brings more private capital, more long-term investment, more innovation energy. But a full shift like that looks unlikely soon, because centralized control doesn't usually volunteer to become less centralized. So the more likely story, medium term, is slower growth, pressure, and potential periods of serious stress. Now, here's where my world shows up. Markets don't only pay you when things go up. You can trade downside too. You can position for weakness. You can profit from volatility and shifting narratives. The market doesn't have feelings. It moves. If China hits structural stress, markets will price it. And if markets price it, traders can trade it. And if you want to know how I think about these macro moves in a practical, how do I not get wrecked way, that's what I do in my Telegram. YouTube is where I explain. Telegram is where I keep my hand on the pulse, share ideas, talk through what's happening, and keep my people grounded. And yeah, you'll hear me repeat certain psychological truths a lot. Humans forget, humans get emotional, humans need repetition. And that's normal. That's why communities exist. All right, that's the breakdown. I'm Tyler White. I appreciate you. Keep your eyes on the numbers, not the noise.